Are you ready to crush your half marathon? Race day can be both exciting and nerve wracking at the same time, but with the right strategies, you can set yourself up for success. In this ultimate guide, we'll cover everything from pre race rituals to pacing tips, ensuring that you finished your race, get to the finish line with confidence and a smile. Let's get you race day ready. I've run 34 half marathons, and as a running physical therapist and coach, helped hundreds of others conquer 13.1 miles, feeling strong and proud of their accomplishment. And today I brought in the reinforcements and asked Coach Whitney LaCombe on our Spark Healthy Runner coaching team to join me to share her knowledge on how we can best prepare for a half marathon so you can master your upcoming race. So whether you're a seasoned half marathoner or this is your first half marathon, this training is going to be packed with tips and tricks to ensure that you do cross that finish line feeling strong and healthy so you can go on to enjoy lifelong injury free running after your half marathon. Thank you so much for accepting my invite, Coach Whitney. I am excited to chat all about half marathon race day strategy with you. And I guess my first question to you is like, what do you love most about the half marathon distance?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I only get to pick one. Ooh, I would have to say my favorite thing about the half marathon distance is it for me is the perfect race distance. It's not too long, it's not too short. Sound like Goldilocks, but it's 13.1 miles of yeah, it's hard, but you know you can accomplish it. You know you can get to that finish line. Um, I don't know. It's my favorite distance because I feel like I can still push myself to my limits during that race, but still have the rest of the day or still have energy left to hang out with my kids. So it's the great race distance for me if I'm going to be taking my kids with me to a race.
That is so true. And the recovery aspect of it, right, is like you can kind of get back into training fairly quickly with a little recovery after the race. And yeah, I agree. And I would say that is my favorite race distance as well. And it's by far the one that I've run the most races in that distance. So great point there. And for those that are new to our audience, if you want to learn more about Coach Whitney and many of the other trainings that we've done before, you can just click the link in the bio. We have all of our trainings linked, as well as her kind of deep bio. But I'm sure some of your wisdom and knowledge and your experience is going to come out during today's content. And really, what we're going to be doing, guys, is providing you with an ultimate race day strategy for you to be able to crush your half marathon. We're going to get into race day prep with a plan because you got to have a plan, the mental strategies to use during half marathon racing, the actual pacing strategy that you will need to follow, nutrition and fueling strategy, hydration, all important elements. And then we're going to even talk about how do you make adjustments for weather on race day, as well as what to wear for race day. So if you're new to this show, we teach you how to execute these 6 key parts of your running journey. So you'll not only feel more confident in getting stronger and faster as a runner, but you're going to stay healthy along the way, being able to enjoy the process, have joy in training and running, and be able to crush some half marathons along the way if you like to challenge yourself like we do as adult runners. And what are those 6 parts? Just to kind of recap, it's going to be mindset, strength training, run plan, nutrition, recovery, and race strategy. So, therefore, in today's episode, you're going to get that race strategy bucket filled up with a bunch of goodies from Coach Whitney for your half marathon race. And much of what we're going to be talking about today is actually included in written form. So you don't need to like take some copious notes if you like to, jot some notes as you're learning. We do have a freebie download that is our race day blueprint, and it's really what to do before a race. And it's going to give you 10 proven tactics to run a great race, feeling strong and confident. This online mini book is specifically written for you to be able to take away the guesswork and how to actually execute the perfect half marathon race strategy. And what you're going to get is a race ready checklist as well as a race day game plan. So these are like templates that Coach Whitney has created. We've edited them over the years. We've trialed these with all the athletes that we work with within our coaching program. So this is true, tried, and tested, and is a great way for you to decrease anxiety levels and stress levels going into your race day so you can enjoy the experience, because that's what we want for you. So you can just click the link that I have for you in the download to or in the show notes to get that download, or just go to learn.sparkhealthyrunner.com/race. So every great strategy starts with a plan, doesn't it, Coach? What do we need to think about
Absolutely.
in terms of planning for our half marathon race?
So, first off, congratulations on even considering running a half marathon. If this is your first, welcome to the club. You are going to love it, I promise. Maybe not in the moment, but you will love it and you'll come back for more. But you need to have a plan. And if you are just starting out thinking about running a half marathon and you found this podcast, welcome. We're excited. Start planning now for that race, whether it's 6 months from now, 3 months from now, a year from now. Now is when you want to start planning. I am so type A. I'm a list maker. I'm a planner. It drives my husband crazy. But having a plan, especially for a race, is so important. So you need, a lot of times we're traveling, even if it's just driving to a race in your hometown, right? You're still traveling. So you need to come up with your travel arrangements, whether that's flight, hotel, car rental, just directions to get to the race, where you're going to park, because they always have designated parking areas for the race. You need to make those reservations. You need to make those arrangements. If you are traveling, you're going to want to make hotel reservations. You're going to want to make dinner reservations, all the reservations. So for me personally, I travel almost to all my races, even the ones here in Tucson. I live in Southern Arizona. I live on the southeast side, the southeast corner of Tucson, and even our hometown Tucson marathon, half marathon, I think it has a relay, is up an hour plus drive from me. So I have to travel to that. So I know how to plan for travel. Make those arrangements early, as soon as you can, as soon as the hotel opens up booking for that weekend, as soon as the airfare is available, as soon as you can make the car reservations, do it. As soon as you can make those dinner reservations for the night before. Or maybe you're going to have a huge celebration dinner after because you just crushed 13.1 miles. Congratulations. Go celebrate. But make those reservations early because they're going to fill up. All those restaurants are going to have everybody else celebrating. So make those reservations. You want to make sure you have a checklist. And we have one that you can download that will help you make sure you have all the things you need to have a successful race day. You can also make an extra checklist. I do it in the Notes app on my phone, which then I can edit on the computer if I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to remember to bring whatever. Add it to your list. You can put little circle bullet dots next to every item. So when you put it in your luggage or you put it in your bag, you can check it off. So you know you've got all those things. You want to make sure that you're doing all of these things ahead of time in advance so that you're not stressed during race week. Yes, you're going to have the taper crazies, but we want to minimize the unnecessary taper crazies, right? Because why? Why add that stress? So make your lists, check them twice, and have a plan. Make it now. You'll thank me, I promise.
All right, so we're getting that plan in place. We have our list of things to bring. If you're not sure what to bring, again, in the download, we literally have it written out for you as far as like what you need for food and drink, like race fuel, pre-race breakfast, electrolyte drink, your race essentials, whether it's your race bib or directions to the start of the race, your clothing, post race, the things that you're going to need, all of your gear, like Whitney has us all like chapstick, anti-chafe cream, like it's all here. So you can kind of get your ideas, think about what you use, what you've used in training, what you're going to need for race day, depending upon your conditions. And then you just simply check it off, right? So pretty much foolproof. It will help decrease the anxiety levels. And all of that is in the download, and you can easily fill that out and make sure that you have everything, because I think that is critical in really easing that pre-race stress. So you have a plan, you've made your reservations, whether it's travel, whether it's restaurants where you're eating. Um, think about the other thing I'll add to that is think about bib pickup. What time is that? Where is that? And the other thing I actually just talked about with an athlete who just ran the Shamrock Shuffle in Virginia Beach. She unfortunately did start the race in kind of a section where she had a different color bib than everyone else. So she was running a half marathon, but was with all the marathoners. So we had talked about this as in the future, really scope out. And this is what I like to do, even at that, pre-race bib pickup, scope out the start line area, see what it looks like. It's like nice to get that visual, even if it's the day before. A lot of times, most of these races, they're going to be setting up, they might be setting up the start line, or at least the tables around the porta potties will be there. So you kind of get a little lay of the land. And then, that next morning when it's really early and you're getting up to go, you kind of know where things are situated, right? You've seen it. It's not like totally fresh. And I find, at least, that helps ease some of my pre-race jitters, just knowing what to expect. I think that's going to be really, really helpful for you.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like that kind of goes along with our next tip, the mental strategies, because
Nice.
visualizing is a great way to kind of calm those nerves, right? So we talk a lot about visualizing your race, visualizing your finish time that you want, or visualizing the finish line. But seeing and visualizing and knowing where the start is, where the corrals are, where the bathrooms are, that is a great tip to help you minimize that pre-race anxiety. So I love it. Love it.
Yeah, and visualization, guys, can be done weeks in advance. I like to really dial this down. I will do a little bit of this in training. So for hard speed work days, long run days, I will do some visualization and just think about, okay, what's it going to look like at this next race, right? Like, what's going to be my scenery around me? How many people are going to be running around me? Is it a crowded race? Is it like no one's around? So that kind of puts my mind in some of that visualization. But you can also do this on your own, like at nighttime before bed. If you're doing some meditation, you can do some visualization about your race and what it's going to look like, what you think it's going to smell like, right? Like what you're going to be wearing, and all of that. And there's some science that has been done, is that helps rewire the brain and helps the brain when you are in that situation. It's like you've been there before. It's not something this is the first experience. And I don't know if you guys if this ever has happened to you, but whether you gave a presentation, you went for like a really stressful job interview, you went to a conference. Like, I think of all those three kind of examples in my career where you just finish the day feeling utterly exhausted. And I feel like a lot of it is because you don't know what to expect, or like the first day in a job, the first, for me, when I was teaching in faculty, like the first day teaching in a new lecture room with new students and new, colleagues that you're working with. Like, all of that feels so much more tiring when you don't know what to expect. So the more that you can visualize and kind of tricks your brain into knowing what is coming and expecting, will help keep the effort level down, because we're going to talk about this, that this is kind of critical to execute the perfect half marathon race strategy. But visualization is like one of those things that I've been definitely getting into a little bit more, and can really help calm the brain and prepare you for that race day strategy. So I love that tip, Coach.
Yeah, my kids laugh at me because sometimes I try not to finish my runs right in front of my house because I like to have a little walk cool down. But sometimes I'm get caught up in it and I kind of forget where I'm at. And I always try to finish at least the last like 3 or 4 weeks before a race, any distance. I as I finished that long run, I practiced crossing the finish line. So I practiced with my arms up in the air, smile on my face, like practice crossing that finish line because you don't want to be crossing the half marathon finish line looking down, pausing your watch. You don't, you want that picture with your arms up, celebrating. You just crushed a half marathon. That is a huge deal. So practice it. People might think you're weird, but hey, just say Coach Whitney does it. It's fine. Totally normal.
That is awesome. I am gonna steal that. I have not done that. There has definitely been runs where, if you guys have been running for a while, where you just get like those magical runs where you do get that runner's high and you feel like you're literally floating. And I've been at that point in certain runs where it was a really good song that came on. I will start singing. I'll like pump my arm in the air. I've done that before, but I haven't actually thought about like crossing the finish line, actually like doing that. I think I'm going to do
Yeah,
that this week for my long run.
do it. It's it's empowering and you just feel like nothing can stop you. It's I don't know. I even do it on those days when the run sucks because we all have those too, right? Where you don't get that runner's high and you finish your run and you're like, ugh. But just putting your arms up, it changes your mental space. It's fantastic. So yeah, try it this week.
I will
Yeah.
definitely give that a try.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
what
my
other
other
mental strategies do you think would be helpful besides visualization and maybe practicing your finish pose?
Yeah. So I love mantras. My I as a female runner, I wear bracelets. I have a handful of bracelets depending on the race, depending on the distance. I'm actually getting ready to run a challenge for the Flying Pig Marathon weekend, which is pink because pigs are pink, right? So everything I do is pink. I have pink bracelets made that say, run this mile, or don't think, just go, or you've got this, run hard. And I pick which ones I'm feeling in that morning, but I always, no matter what race distance I'm doing, I always wear a bracelet. So if it gets hard, I can look down and be like, all right, don't think, just go. You are strong. And that to me just is that extra little reminder that you trained for this race. You are ready for this race, and nothing can stop you. You've got all the power in the world to make your dreams come true. So crush it. So that's my favorite. I know a lot of people will use Sharpie and write it on their hand, or there are some companies that sell like the temporary tattoos that you can put on your hand or your arm or whatever. I find that I just like the bracelets because they're cute and they're fun and they always match my outfit. So, you know.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. No, mantras are super important. And if you're new to mantras, I'll definitely also link a full episode that we did on kind of race day mantras. And again, there is science to support this. And, I've been utilizing mantras for years now to help with races. And, there are different types of mantras for different parts of the race. So you want to think about what are the mantras that are going to keep you calm, get you in a rhythm early in the race so the effort level stays low. So you're not too high of an effort and too jazzed up, too adrenaline's pumping, because that's really where you're going to crash and burn at the end. So we need to stay in control. So what are the mantras that you're going to tell yourself to get smooth, get relaxed, right? Get in a rhythm. Whether you tell yourself like, smooth like butter, or stay smooth, breathe, right, smile. Like those are some things that I've utilized in the past, or just like embracing all of spectator, smiling, waving, things that are just going to like take your mind off of really perseverating, I guess, on what your pace is early in that race, and really get your breathing down. So you're going into your essentially like your Zen zone, right? And trying to keep everything smooth and calm and relaxed. And then you got those kind of, what Chris McClung in that episode, he likes to use the word like fight mantras. And I like that term as well, where, this is where you got to fight. This is where your brain is going to literally, push you beyond your physical limits, not your physical limits, but when your body is telling you to slow down, when your brain is saying like, okay, this is getting a little too hard here. You've been doing this for over an hour, maybe over 2 hours, and let's slow down. Like, what are you doing to me over here as you're running 13.1? So those are kind of the things that are going to really pump you up, motivate you, and like that's great that you shared some of the ones that you like to use. And I've kind of played around with different ones. And I think there are different mantras for different seasons of your life and your running journey.
Yeah,
So, if you
absolutely.
are someone who is new to the journey, then, you can finish, right? Like something that's going to help get you to overcoming this obstacle, this challenge, right? Of 13.1. Other ones that kind of staples of mine are like, you are strong, you are fast, you are strong, you are fast. That kind of links up nicely with like steps. Um, Using you statements is helpful to kind of like reinforce that it is you, that you can do that. So if you think about, if you're into journaling and like affirmations, positive affirmations, think about the ones that most resonate with you. And then, if you've been through an injury, and I've definitely been there recently, maybe something like resilience, like you are resilient, right? Or you are on your comeback journey, right? Like things like that can help, remind you of your why and why you're doing this, why you're running this half marathon, and, remind yourself that you owe it to yourself to keep pushing, to keep going, and you will finish this race feeling strong. But those are the kind of the fight mantras that you want to not only have ready for the race, but you need to practice them in training. So you need to practice them during your hardest runs, whether you're doing speed work or you're doing your long runs, you're conquering that first 11 miler, that first 12 miler, right? It's getting hard. Maybe it's hot outside. Maybe you just don't feel good, right? Like, what are you going to tell yourself? What are the mantras you're going to use to get through that training run? And you've practiced it, you've used it, it was helpful for you. And now hey, I'm going to pull this out for race day, because it is kind of hard to pull new things out for race day because you've really never tried and tested them before. Just like we're going to talk about other strategies today, it's kind of like nothing new on race day is what we like to say.
Yep, absolutely nothing new on race day. Nothing. Another thing that I like to do for races, and I don't use this for every race and I don't use it for all of a race necessarily, but I like to have music. Now, some races, if it has a big crowd, if it's a loud race, you might not want music. You might want to just listen to the crowds cheering for you. Sometimes people put their names on their shirt. That might not be your jam, but I like to have my name on my shirt so people can cheer for me and be like, go, Whitney, you've got this. Like that pumps me up. However, sometimes races are quiet, or you just get to a quiet part on the course, or you're having a hard time. You get to those last 3 miles of your 13.1 and you just need a boost, right? And the mantras at this point maybe aren't cutting it anymore, or you just need something different. Music is going to be your friend. But don't wait until the night before to try or to like create a playlist. Create it at some point during your training so that you can listen to the entire playlist and make sure there's not like a weird song that you're like, ugh, nah, not my jam. Then you can delete it or remove it before the race. Because the worst thing is to get through a race or get like partway through your race and all of a sudden you realize that your kids are playing a trick on you and put like Twinkle Twinkle on your race playlist. And you're like, what is going on? This is terrible. And you either suffer through the song or you stop and like pull out your phone and like change the song. I'm not saying that happened, but I'm also not saying that didn't happen several times. Oh, children. But have a playlist, test it out, make sure it's your jam or it vibes with running. Because sometimes you have great songs. I love country music, love it. Cannot run to it. Cannot run to it. It just bothers me when I run. So I'm a product of the 90s. I mean, I was born in the 80s, but I love 90s grunge music. That gets me going on my runs. So I have a 90s mix, but I also have what I call, and I stole this from Coach Kat, I have an SOS playlist for when I really need to dig deep. And those are the songs that I only listen to during my hard speed workouts or a hard long run. And it just helps me get through the run. And I save those songs. Those are only on my SOS playlist. So find those songs that are going to just kind of speak to you and like pump you up, because you want, whether it is the angry music like I like, or like I don't know what might be your jam, but some classic rock or something. Find what works for you, test it out, and make a race day playlist and make your SOS playlist and pin them in Spotify so that they are easy to access. So when you're running, if you need to pull up that SOS list, you can just pull it up real fast, tuck your phone away, and go.
Yeah, I agree with that, with songs that, the ones that you're going to want to use for race, you are only using them for hard runs because, yeah, you associate, like, let's just say you are using it for an easy run. Number one, I feel like the benefits, it's probably doing more harm than good because it's probably having you run your easy runs a little too fast and your recovery runs. So you don't need that type of pump up music, right? You're just looking for maybe some distraction music, perhaps, or maybe listening to the Healthy Runner podcast, which will help keep your easy runs nice and easy. But yeah, those songs that I use for races and my race day playlist are definitely only pulled out during hard speed days. So I would agree with that point. And yeah, Kat's going to love that reference that you have the SOS playlist. And yeah, for those that use Spotify is great to create your own playlist. That's what I recommend. We actually have a bunch of playlists on Spotify. If you just type in Healthy Runner, you should be able to find a half marathon playlist, a 5K playlist, a marathon playlist, and they are, versions of what I've used in the past. We actually did a number of years ago, kind of pulled our Facebook group audience, and they kind of added all of their favorite run songs. So if you're looking for ideas, go search those playlists, and then what you'll do is, listen to a song, and then you literally can just hit the three dots and add it to whatever your half marathon playlist is. And that will help create that playlist. And then the other point that you mentioned that I think is important is to listen to your race playlist, especially if you haven't run a race distance in a while, because songs do change. And again, seasons of your life, something that might have been really inspirational like 4 years ago, now you listen to it and you're like, it does nothing for you. So you don't want a song that does nothing for you, like on your race day.
Yeah, absolutely. And double check it like the night before, just in case your kids or your spouse or a friend slipped in a funny song. Because the last thing you want to do is be jamming out and then have, like, I don't know, Queen's Fat Bottom Girl come on. And you're like, no, 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 no. This is not going to cut it. So, yeah.
I just thought about the Anaconda song. And
Oh, yeah. Oh, there has been so many times my kids, and they think they're funny, and, like, I'll come home and be like, "Did you add a song to my playlist?" And they're like, "No, we didn't do that." And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure you did. I'm taking away your Spotify." Yeah. So, yeah, kids. So, should we talk pacing strategies?
Yes. The other thing, I'm just trying to think if we've covered everything in that mental strategy bucket. So we talk mantras, visualization, kind of positive self talk with those mantras that you can do it, and kind of talked about that needs to be practiced in training. And I think that's kind of the most important point, that you want to think about listening to maybe an episode like this, like saving it somewhere. I like to use the notes function on my phone for podcast episodes that I specifically listen to before races to remind myself of some of the like strategies we're going to talk about. So like this episode would be a great one for you to save, listen to a week or two before your race to kind of make sure you've covered all of these kind of bucket areas and start introducing some more visualization into your practice. Start really practicing those mental mantra strategies. Start really finalizing that playlist. And I would agree. I myself have fallen into the trap of being too busy. I haven't gotten to my playlist till literally that morning of the race. And then I'm sitting there literally creating a playlist, editing it, changing the timing because you added a song in, but now it's too long. And that song that you want to be listening getting to like literally down the home stretch is like too far after your like expected time. So now I'm like editing my play, like it's creating unnecessary stress the morning of the race. Like silly, stupid. Like I shouldn't have been doing that. So don't be Dwayne and do it early. Finalize that playlist. Make sure it's good to go. So you're not in that situation. Hey, runner, want 4 free gels? Did you know that proper nutrition is one of the 6 steps to growing in your running journey? So, if you've never eaten anything for your runs, or you've tried other gels, but you just didn't like the taste, or quite frankly, the texture, or you always get stomach discomfort whenever you try to fuel your workouts, it's time to give UCAN a try. It is the fuel that allowed me to crush a 23-minute marathon PR, and UCAN is what powered my 48.6 magical miles in Disney as part of the Dopey Challenge. The top US marathon runners, whether it's Emily Sisson, Sarah Hall, or Emma Bates, all use UCAN to power their workouts and their runs. But it's not just for elite runners. As a running physical therapist and coach, it is my go-to recommendation for the athletes I work with. Now, UCAN is offering our Spark Healthy Runner community an exclusive chance to try 4 Edge samples for free. All you do is pay the cost of shipping. So just head over to ucan.co/healthy runner to claim this offer, or just drop UCAN in the comments and I'll shoot you the special link. And while you're over there, you might as well grab a box of energy bars. Salted peanut butter is my favorite, and I have it after my runs and before my strength sessions. As always, let's maintain a strong mind, a strong body, and let's just keep on running, powered by UCAN. Yes, I would love to talk about pacing strategy.
All right. Well, buckle up because it's different for everybody. But we're going to give you guys the general. Hopefully, this you can adapt to your specific race, to your needs, to your goals. But it is going to be different for every runner because my pacing strategy is not the same as Dwayne's pacing strategy because we don't run the same races. We don't run the same time. We don't run the same race. We're not the same person. So things are going to be a little bit different. And it's just like racing shoes or running shoes, right? What works for me isn't necessarily going to work for my husband or my mom. So my biggest tip is to know your course, because if you're running a flat course, you're going to have a slightly different pacing strategy than if you're running a course with a lot of hills, or a course that's downhill, or a course that is, you're going to want to look. If it's an out and back, you're going to see the other runners that have already turned around coming back at you. So you want to be prepared for that. Is it a looped course? Is it a point to point? So you get dropped off at the start and then you are finishing at a different area. So look at your course, study the map, but also study the elevation, or look at the elevation profile. Almost all race websites will have not only a course map, but they'll have the elevation profile. So you can see, okay, it starts at mile, 0 to 1, it's super flat. And then you've got a tiny hill, and then it comes down, and then it's a spike, and then it's flat. You can kind of see where the hills are. And mentally, we'll go back to your mental strategy, mentally be prepared for where those hills or the turns are in a race. So knowing your course is going to be the biggest helper to nailing down your own personal strategy for your pacing. So my next step is, let's start slow. We want to start conservative. We do not want to have all that adrenaline at the start. The gun goes off. Maybe there's fireworks or flames are shooting out of the start line. Who knows? And all of a sudden you're just like, you're so jazzed and ready to go because you've put in all this time training for this 13.1 miles that your adrenaline is just pumping through your body. Dial it down. Yes, it's going to be pumping no matter what you do, but dial it down. Take a breath. Take a calming meditation moment as you walk towards that start line. Because as the gun goes off, everybody is going to kind of smush together and go towards the start. Use that time to like center yourself again and be like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going to start slow. And that's your game plan. Start those first 3 miles. Miles 1 through 3, you're going to hold back. You do not want to get to your goal pace or faster. We want to make sure that you're holding back. The last thing you want to do is start off with that adrenaline and then be burnt out by mile 7, 9, whatever it is, and be regretting your early on decisions. So hold back those first few miles and just know that you can pick up the pace later on. So don't get too upset.
Yes, and I would add that during this first part of pacing strategy, this is literally the section that most half marathoners get wrong, even experienced ones.
Me,
So,
I still do it and I
yeah,
know better.
it's
So
hard. It's hard to calm yourself, to adrenaline's a real thing. And we get this all the time when someone has a half marathon goal. Let's say you wanted to run, let's use simple numbers, a 9-minute per mile pace for your race. And we get this all the time that runners are training around the 9-minute mark because they think that, hey, I have to run 9-minute pace in order to run a 9-minute pace for my 13 miles. So when I do my 10-mile long run, I should be running at a 9-minute pace. When in fact, you might be running those training runs too hard and not your easy zone. And people, I guess if you're new to half marathons, you don't understand how much race and adrenaline and the atmosphere will you will be able to run faster than what you have been training at. And to our detriment, sometimes that makes us go out too hot, right? And the the key to success for the half marathon is keeping the effort level, like feeling easy those first 3 miles. So this first part that Coach Whitney is talking about is like the main goal that you're shooting for is this feels easy. You're in control of your breathing, and you're in a nice little rhythm. So like that's the goals of this first part is to just dial in a rhythm, stay slow, don't get dragged by the pack and who's around you, let people pass you, totally be okay with it. Half of those people you're going to be passing on the third part of this race. And then you can kind of wave to them, whatever, as they're like walk running or they're huffing and puffing, and you're just like flying by them. So it really takes discipline to hold back, check in with the watch. And I just talked about this with an athlete of mine during her just half marathon race reflection that she also, and a lot of us get jitters, right? A little pre-race anxiety. And we might have to pee like a couple times at the, porta potty. And that kind of like gets us jazzed up. Or if you start at like the wrong start line and you're not where you should be, that might increase anxiety. That increases our fight or flight response, our sympathetic nervous system. And the natural reaction of our body is to increase heart rate. And the whole name of the game here for this half marathon pacing strategy is keeping your heart rate as low as possible for as long as possible. Because if you can do that, then the last half of the race, you're going to have energy. You're going to be able to kick hard. You're going to be able to be passing people. You're going to be able to stay nice and strong. So think about that as your overall goal these first 3 miles is just to keep that heart rate as low as possible. And it's hard because you're so excited. You got your loved ones over there, maybe with the camera. They're taking some video of you getting off. You maybe got your playlist going now, so you're like getting pumped up. This might be the first race you've done in a while. People around you have all the energy, right? You got the race photographer coming up on like the first turn. You're like, you're pumped, but you gotta dial all of that in, and you have to go to like Zen mode. And I think of like if you ever see professional athletes, whether it's like football, basketball, like explosive sports, look at like the professionals at what they're doing right before game time. You don't see them jumping around, like yelling, getting pumped up. Like you see a lot of them going to their calm zone. They're trying to like dial it in so then they can execute, so they can perform. And part of us as performing as recreational like adult runners is being able to keep these first 3 miles in check and keep that heart rate in check so the effort level feels easy.
absolutely. And one of the things I like to do in the start corral. As a nervous, pre-race, I mean, I've done enough races that I shouldn't be nervous at the start of the race. Like, I'm prepared usually, but I'm a nervous talker. So I make friends with people in the start corral, and I feel like that helps calm my nerves, and I assume it helps calm their nerves. But sometimes just talking with someone instead of being in your own head kind of helps you to calm down. So if you're like me and you're a chatterbox, find somebody who looks kind and friendly. We're all runners. We're almost all of us will talk to you. You know, strike up a conversation with the person next to you. Talk to them for like 5 minutes before the start or as you're walking to the start, and it'll calm you down a little. So
All right. So the
yeah.
first part, let's say, roughly miles 1 through 3, we've kept it in check. We've hit that goal. You're in a nice rhythm. You feel like your stride, breathing is in control. So now we've entered like this second part, which is the longest part of our half marathon race strategy. For the most part, as long as, there are no weird things with the course. Let's say it is a flat course and there's nothing like considerably different. Miles 4 through 10, what are our main goals here, coach?
So I like to call these miles the cruise miles because this is where you want to find your groove. This is where you want to find your rhythm. You want to get into that comfortable pace close to your goal pace, either your goal pace or just slightly below your goal pace. And you want to just relax into that pace. You want to focus on you and how you're feeling. I like to do like a little check in during these miles. All right, how are my legs feeling? How are my feet feeling? Do I want to make sure I'm taking some extra electrolytes? Is it a hot day? Is it a cold day? Do I want to like pull my sleeves down over my hands? How is my body feeling? Where's my mind space? How am I feeling mentally? Am I crushing it? Am I just daydreaming? Because that's a good one too. Sometimes I look down and it's like mile 4. And the next time I look down, it's like mile 8.5. And I'm like, where'd those last miles go? Like, what happened? Which is great because you're not really paying attention, but you want to get into those comfortable cruise miles through miles 4 and 10 through 10.
Yeah, and I like to think of this as you mentioned, we're keeping it relaxed and getting in a rhythm the first 3 miles, but they should be the slowest miles that you run this whole race, right? And now what you're trying to do is translate that relaxed feeling while you increase your pace to what your goal half marathon pace it is based upon your current running fitness, not the half marathon you did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or that
Or
you're aspiring to
yep,
get to, right?
yep.
It's where your fitness is, because if it's the aspiring one, then most likely you're going to crash and burn and you're going to run too fast. And then you're not going to be able to kick for this last, third of the race. But you're just trying to take that relaxed feeling, increase the pace, and then try to stay calm, try to stay relaxed, try to be in control. So you are at your goal half marathon pace. And for those that are doing speed work, this should feel comfortable. You should take yourself back to your training runs that you practiced running shorter intervals at half marathon pace. And you're thinking about, like you said, checking in on your running form, making sure your shoulders aren't shrugged up to your ears. Like, are my shoulders low? Is my neck relaxed? Do I need to think about sticking out my chest a little bit more to improve my posture so I'm not all hunched over, right? Because that's going to help expand my lungs, allow me to use my diaphragm when I'm breathing. So I'm not relying on like mouth breathing that you're going to pretty much be doing the last couple of miles of this race. So just making sure that you are able to check in. I love what you said about cruise. And then the other last point I will say here, because this has been my downfall a couple of races, has been tailing off and getting a little too comfortable and not checking in. So I would remind yourself to check in on your pace or your splits if you're not, in an area that has great GPS with your watch, but making sure every mile split that you're staying on track, because sometimes we can get a little too comfortable where you're just drifting and it's like a slow drift where you don't know that you're running slower, but you are drifting off your goal pace, which can then put yourself in a little bit of a deficit where you're really starting to stress and thinking that you need to like make it all up in a mile or two. So I would just remind you to keep checking in with your watch and just say like, hey, am I right around where I need to be for my goal pace that I'm shooting for at this race?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've definitely drifted to that slower pace, not realizing it. But using the mile markers on the course is a great way to like remind you, okay, there's mile 3. I'm going to check and see what my pace is. Okay. Now I'm at mile 4. Now I'm at mile 5. Like each mile, make that like your mental, I'm going to get to that mile and then I'm going to check. Unless you have the paces set in your watch and it's buzzing at you one way or another, you might not realize you're either going too fast or too slow. So yeah, making sure you're checking in is a good one because I've been there. Yeah.
All right. So now we've gotten to the point of the race where we are approaching that mile 10. And I would say for some athletes, if you're well trained and you've even had a more conservative start than even what we're talking about of maybe 10 to 15, maybe even 20 seconds slower than your goal pace for like that first mile or two, and you've done that, then you may start to slowly increase, let's say at mile 8 or 9, if you're experienced. But for the most part, like around that mile 10 mark, we've earned the right to actually race now, right? So, what does this last part or this third part of our race day strategy look like?
So this is the part where you're actually getting to race. We call this go time. I call this go time. This is when you want to be going slightly faster than that goal pace. If you're feeling good, you've got 3.1 miles left, sometimes a little longer depending on the course. You're in that end zone, right? You can mentally, all right, I've got a 5K left. You can do this. You've been training so hard. You can totally get this last bit in. This is when you get to run at those faster paces. If we've set a pacing goal, this is when you can go about 5 to 7 to 10 seconds faster than your goal pace up until about, I would say that until like that last 800 meters, 400 meters, half mile, quarter mile. When you see that finish line, then feel free. Empty the tank. Go for it at that last bit, whatever you've got left, right? You can see that finish line. Do it. Empty your tank, leave it all on the course. But up until then, you're still going a little bit faster than your goal pace, but you're not emptying the tank too early, if that makes sense. You don't want to start mile 11 going 30, 40 seconds faster than your goal pace, because then you're going to be too tired to finish strong. And we want you to finish strong. We want you to finish this race feeling fantastic and knowing that you crushed it, not that you emptied your tank too early. So,
Yeah, this is when the race begins, guys. And if you're new to half marathoning, this is where you've earned the right to race. You've done the training, you've completed the training, and now this is your time to shine, essentially. And at that point of about 20 to 25 minutes left in your race, so depending upon your pace, you could think about, is that 2 miles left, 3 miles left in the race? That's the point at which you can kind of go to above what we call our threshold zone and our lactate threshold, where essentially we're going to start like utilizing a little what we call anaerobic and not using oxygen in our running. If we get to that point and we spike too early, then that's when you essentially crash and burn. So this is the point of the race where, yes, it is going to feel hard. Everything before this should not have felt harder, honestly, ideally, than a 6 out of 10 effort. You could be up to a 7, especially miles 8 and 9. You might be at that 7 out of 10 effort level if you've done everything correctly. But now here's when you can get to the effort now creeps up to an 8 out of 10. And then it's slowly increasing to 8.5, 9 out of 10. And like Coach Whitney said, that last quarter mile, last half mile, depending upon your mental strength, maybe the last mile, if you're really experienced, you can go to that really dark what I like to call the pain cave and dark place where you're at a 10 out of 10. This is you going at your hardest effort possible. You're breathing super heavy. If anyone ever sees me at races at this point, I'm making some weird noises. I'm just trying to get any air in possible. The look on my face is one of pain. I am not smiling at this point of the race at all. So this is where you kind of enter that pain cave, if you will. And it's okay to do it at this point. You didn't want to do it earlier. But this is where the mantras we talked about earlier really come into play, and you really have to just play some tricks with your brain. A couple of ones that I'll share, we talked about fight mantras, but the other one is kind of catching the person in front of you. Call out that dude in the orange bright singlet in front of you. You're like, hey, I'm going to catch this guy. You can reel him in, pretend you got a fishing rod, reel him in, or you got a magnet attached to your chest and it's attached to him. You're going to attract, right? Because you are speeding up at the end. And usually, if you're not speeding up, it usually means you're slowing down. So, this is where you need to speed up. It's going to feel hard. And, these are just some you know, mental strategies that you can do. And the other one that I'll add, and you can add any others that you utilize, Whitney, is counting, right? Just counting to 10. It's more of a distraction as opposed to a mantra where you're just saying like push, push, kick, drive, whatever, resilience, whatever mantra you're going to use at this point. You might just get tired of saying that, where it's like, all right, I got to distract myself. I'm just going to try to hold this pace, hold it for 10 seconds, right? You're counting 1, 2. So you're not slowing down and you're kind of tricking yourself into just holding it at 10. And then when you get to 10, it might not feel as hard, or you just might, hey, let's count again to 10. And usually 10 is like the max I do. I know some people will do like 20 or even higher, but it just usually doesn't work out with the syllables as easy. If you're like 36, 37, it just doesn't like link as easy as just 1 to 10, and anyone can count to 10. And if you are in that pain cave, your brain starts getting a little loopy and can't do like runner's math that late in your half marathon race. So yeah, counting to 10 can be like a nice distraction technique to just keep pushing the pace, like maintaining your pace.
So I count, but I alter. You're going to laugh. I alternate. I do it in English, Spanish, English, Spanish, English, Spanish. And that just kind of like even distracts me a little bit more. But another thing I focus on is everybody that knows me well knows that I love chocolate milk. And that's like my reward after my long runs or like a hard speed workout because it's got the good, the balance of the carbs and the protein and it tastes delicious. So after I count or I get tired of counting or just to mix it up, it's chocolate milk, chocolate milk, chocolate milk. And that that'll get me across the finish line. I ran the New York City Marathon in this past November, and that last like half mile, I literally said chocolate milk probably 7 million times. Just chocolate milk, chocolate milk, chocolate milk. So I hope all of you have that stuck in your heads now, and you're going to be thinking chocolate milk because it's fantastic. And
I,
it's a nice, sweet, refreshing treat when you're done, if you can get some.
Please reach out to us on Instagram if you've used the mantra chocolate milk, because this is the first time I'm hearing of the chocolate milk mantra. And this is why I
Oh,
love doing these episodes, because I always learn something new. Now I've learned that I could count in Spanish, and that might help me. So I'll let you know if I actually do that for my race in 2 weeks, if I wind up counting in Spanish at the end of my race, in addition to English. But great idea. I love it. We'll
yeah,
see.
it
We'll see if
mixes
it
it up.
resonates.
You can do like a little dance as you're like counting, like bob your head a little, like, make it fun. It doesn't have to be, you're at the end. And if you are in the pain cave, you're in the pain cave. So do something fun to get your mind out of it. So say chocolate milk, do count in Spanish, count in French, count in Korean, whatever language switch it up. It'll just get your mind out of that, like, this sucks mental space. So
Mhm.
give it a try.
And the other thing I just thought about is run with friends. And I found this helpful in the middle portion of the race when I mentioned how sometimes I'll drift off. If I do notice that someone's been like super consistent in their pacing and they're pretty much running what I should be running and staying at, I will kind of run with them. not in like a creepy way, but I'll pretty much, they might not know I'm running with them, but I might be staying right behind them. If it's super windy, hey, you can use them as like a nice little wind blocker. That certainly helps out. Or you might go like kind of shoulder to shoulder and see how friendly they are. And if they're kind of responsive and you guys say a couple words, I've done that at races, and that's like a huge distraction for me in those middle miles. And I've chatted it up with people that I met on a race course for like all of the middle miles before, which was super helpful for me, just to take my brain away from thinking too much. But at the end, too, I've done that where I could tell like someone's surging and I'm like about to like just fall off my pace. And I'm just like, stay with this person, Dwayne, stay with them. Like you have to stay with them. So I think kind of pacing with someone next to you can be helpful as well.
Yes, I have definitely done that, and I actually one of my best friends I met at the start corral of a marathon, and we're still besties, and it's great. But one of the things that I have done with somebody that I met in my cruise miles is we're running the same kind of pace like you were talking about, shoulder to shoulder, start a little conversation, but we get to that last like half mile, quarter mile, and we kind of look at each other and one of us will say race you, and you race that person to the finish, and it just gives you like you get out of your own mind and it gives you a little boost, and you can really do
Hmm.
that with any race distance, honestly. So give it a try. If you guys try one of these different techniques, let us know because we'll be interested to see how it works for you.
Yeah, we would love to hear. And just I'd be remiss not to mention, I know it is kind of like a fallacy. A lot of runners will think, they can bank time, and I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people talk about that term, and I don't truly understand it because it doesn't make sense in my mind, like banking time. And when people say it all the time, I never knew what it meant. So for those of you who are listening to this, and maybe you're like Dwayne and doesn't know what that means, that essentially means running fast in the beginning of a race to make up time because you know that you're going to be going slower at the end of the race. Um, that pretty much never works out. And if you look at any literal like world record of any race distance, they are all what we call negative splits, right? So you're running faster as the race goes on. The only exception to that would be like the shorter distances. And if you're really experienced and if you're, let's say, trying to go for like a 5K PR, you've done a lot of 5Ks before, you may be able to run a positive split and still get a PR. It's not going to work for the marathon. So if you've been told that, or if you're thinking that you can run faster because like you can like, you'll be able to catch up on time and run a faster race overall, that doesn't work out because of what I mentioned before, and it's all about energy reserves, and you want to have those energy reserves to be able to run fast at the end. And then the other thing is, it's such a confidence booster when you are the person passing people in that last third of the race. And each time you pass someone, it's like another hit of like dopamine. It's like another hit of adrenaline. It's almost like a free drug that you're getting every time you pass someone. It gives you like more energy. I almost feel like I'm playing a video game, and it's like you get like whatever extra power boost. So that is going to be like a free mantra for you, is that if you've gone slow that first 3 miles, slower than goal pace, then those last 3 miles, that last 5K, you're going to get that free power boost, mental adrenaline every time that you're passing someone who didn't actually listen to this episode, right? And you're passing them, gaining that confidence. So it's and it's so empowering to finish a half marathon strong, and that's what we really encourage for our athletes. Is time is one thing, and especially if this is your first half marathon, by the way, don't even worry about time at all. Don't worry about time. Cover the distance, celebrate 13.1 miles, right? Less than 2%
Absolutely.
of the population can run 13.1 miles. Like, you are finishing a half marathon, celebrate the heck out of that, no matter what the time is on the clock. And if you follow the effort level, so even if you take away numbers, pacing, and how much slower should you be going the first third and how much faster should you be doing the last third, if you go by effort levels, keep it at a 5, 6 level early on, no more than a 7 until you get to mile 10. And then you can go up to an 8, a 9, and maybe a 10 out of 10 effort level if you so choose. Or you might choose to celebrate those last couple of miles feeling good and not necessarily go into the pain cave because it's your first half marathon. You don't necessarily need to do that anyway, right? Like, it's going to be a PR. It's going to be your fastest half marathon time.
Yep.
There's going to be plenty of half marathons in your future that you're going to want to beat your time. So just celebrate that first one, please.
I'm so glad you brought up the first half marathon, because if this is your first half marathon, first of all, congratulations. Like, even just listening to this episode, if you're in the planning phase, congratulations. Like, this is a huge, big, fantastic, amazing deal. Like, congratulations. But if this is your first, celebrate that and know that pacing doesn't matter for you. If this is even like your third or your fourth, focus more on the effort and how you're feeling in those miles, and don't pay attention to your pace. I mean, maybe if you look down and you're like, oh my gosh, I have never run this fast in my life, you need to dial it back. But focus on the effort and how you're feeling in those miles, because it is your first and it is a big deal. And you should be happy and just so incredibly proud of yourself for not only running this race, but you made it to the start line and you know you're going to make it to that finish line. And congratulate yourself and be proud and run based on your effort and how you're feeling.
Yeah, and I know we really spent a lot of time on the race strategy, which I think is really important. It's probably like the most common mistake new half marathoners make, and even experienced ones. So, as we think about other half marathon race day tips, what are some quick kind of nutrition strategies that you would recommend, Coach?
So, race day, like we say for everything, nothing new on race day. Don't try a new gel. Don't try a new pre run electrolyte drink. Nothing new. Stick with what you know. Eat the breakfast that you know is tried and true, that you've been using before your long runs, throughout your training. For me personally, on race morning, I eat half of what I would normally do before a long run, because the time is expanded, right? You're waking up so much earlier than when you're actually starting compared to your training runs. So I eat about half of what I normally do when I wake up, usually in the hotel or the Airbnb. And then I eat the other half either in the starting corral, depending on the timing of when you have to get there, or a little bit before that. And I know that that's going to work for me because I've tried it. Do not try anything new. That goes for your timing of your fueling as well. If you have been practicing your long runs and you've been fueling either based on miles or based on minutes, let's say you're fueling typically every 30 minutes on your long runs during training, do that during race day. Set an alarm on your watch. You can do that. I know Garmin, you can do that in the Garmin app. It'll alert you to remind you. If you do it by miles, you can do the same thing. I personally like miles just because that just works better in my brain. I don't like math, so miles makes it easier. I just look for the mile marker. But do what you've been practicing. Don't change anything. End of story. Nothing new.
Yeah, and you guys, we've done a deep dive on half marathon specific nutrition with our registered dietitian, Brooke Zarnecki. So check out episode 220 on the Healthy Runner podcast to get a deep dive in nutrition for the half marathon, as well as I'll kind of add in there like hydration wise. And I'll just quickly add in like, yes, you need to hydrate. Yes, you need to use electrolytes for your race, unless your race is going to be cold weather half marathon and you are not going to run it at a hard effort. If you're going to kind of race your first and you want to enjoy the experience and it's cold weather, you might not need electrolytes. But the majority of you listening to this will need to supplement with electrolytes. That is beyond even what the course is providing. And a lot of times you don't necessarily know exactly how much sodium is in those cups that they're filling and what they've actually formulated the mixture as, if they actually follow the directions and have the correct sodium. So we've had many athletes that relied on the course for their electrolyte strategy and totally cramped up, bonked, like wasn't good. So we always recommend taking your own electrolytes with you for your race. How about any specific kind of weather strategy that people should watch out for, Coach?
So practice in all weather. If it's a rainy day, go for your long run or your run, whatever it is. Don't I mean, if it's icy or dangerous outside, thunderstorms, something where it's not safe, don't go out, obviously. But practice your runs throughout training in all weather because you don't know what it's going to be on race day. If it's raining, you're going to get wet. So practice that. If it's cold, you'll be prepared. All of that. If it is a hot day or a humid day, or you'll hear a lot of runners talk about the dew point. If the dew point is high, you want to make sure that you are supplementing with extra electrolytes. Like Dwayne mentioned, do not just rely on the water on the course or the Gatorade or whatever they have on the course because it's not going to be enough. So you want to make sure that you are supplementing. When it's cold, it's easy to prepare for those races, right? Because you can wear lots of layers. You can wear gloves, you can wear arm sleeves, you can put on a windbreaker, you can easily unzip and take off. There are so many options. Just know that if you start a race in a cold temperature, it's going to warm up. The likelihood of you taking off your gloves and your ear warmer is pretty high. You probably aren't going to get those back. You're going to ditch them on the side of the road and you're not going to get them back. So don't wear your favorites. Get some cheap ones that you can throw. That's the only new thing you're allowed to do on race day, guys, is a pair of gloves or a pair of arm warmers or an ear thing, something that you know you can take off while running. I always say if you don't have to take off your shoes to remove it, you can wear it as a new thing because you can just rip and go. But prepare by practicing in all conditions.
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate that, temperature does not matter. Dew point matters because if your dew point is above 60 degrees, it is going to affect your performance. It is going to have you sweating more. The effort levels are going to be higher. You need to replenish those electrolytes that you're losing through sweat. And kind of speaking of gear, and I know in the Race Day Blueprint download, you have a nice list of gear that we can take for our half marathon. Is there any ones that you want to really highlight or you think that is worth mentioning?
So you want to make sure you've tried everything because nothing new, right? So you want to make sure you've tried the socks and the shoes and the bra and the undies and the singlet or the t-shirt that you plan to wear. You want to make sure you have some sunglasses or a hat because it will make your effort feel harder. And I know this sounds weird, but if you're squinting your eyes while you're running, you're burning more calories and you're using more energy. So throw on a pair of sunglasses or a hat. And if that is something that's new to you, if you don't like it while you're running, that's something you can easily take off. So at least start with those things. I would say definitely pay attention during your training to where you have rubbing spots so that you can put a little extra anti-chafe balm, salve, whatever you want to call it, on those spots for race day because you will be going at a harder effort. So the chafing is going to be a little bit worse. Just know that. I'm sorry in advance. The shower is not going to feel good, but put a little extra on there. But nothing new unless it's something you don't have to sit down to take your shoes off and you can just rip and go.
Right. So those are things like if you guys think about Vaseline, but they make specific ones for running. Like we are big fans of Squirrel's nut butter. We like it better than Body Glide. Body Glide's like, it's okay. If you don't chafe a lot, maybe it's okay for you. But if you get a lot of chafing, you're going to be sweating more, like Coach Whitney mentioned. So you're going to get more chafing if you have trouble spots, whether it is on your legs, lower back, on your feet. I actually put it all over my feet just to prevent any
Yep.
blisters or hot spots on your foot. But yeah, you're going to try all the things. You're going to try the socks. And we've also did a deep dive on running gear guide, essentially for like summer running, which is essentially the same as what you're going to be usually wearing for race conditions. So we give you like all of our favorite products and things like that in episode 234 on the Healthy Runner podcast. I'll definitely link that one in the show notes. And guys, in summary, today we really kind of unpacked kind of the ultimate guide to conquering your half marathon race so you can finish strong with a smile on your face, really focusing on the race day prep, the mental strategies, as well as the pacing strategy. And then in the other resources that we mentioned, you're going to get the deep dive on nutrition strategy, hydration, as well as kind of the race day kit or your gear, and in what you should be wearing. And when you are able to execute this, you're going to go on, like many of the athletes that, Coach Whitney and I have worked with. I think about like Anna East, who was struggling with knee pain before she started on her journey and has gone on to work with you, Whitney, and, conquer many half marathons. And she's got a goal to do a half marathon in all 50 states. And, when you take these strategies and when you actually do the race ready checklist that we mentioned in the download, and you do a race day game plan, which we didn't mention, but that is where we literally have it all listed out of like what time you're going to wake up, what time you're going to get dressed, what time you're going to eat that food that you mentioned earlier, when are you going to have that second, nutrition before the race starts, what time are you going to go to the porta potty. All that stuff is laid out in the race day game plan. So when you're able to do that, then you're going to go on to like not only like crush this half marathon, but like many more after that. So I hope this was like super helpful for you guys. And if you've struggled in executing like the perfect half marathon performance that you want to be proud of, and you want the actual structure of like strength training for running, the running half marathon plan that is right for you, that meets you where you're at in your running journey with your busy life and juggling everything that you're juggling, and making sure that we balance recovery because that's a part of the training. And you want to learn more about working with Coach Whitney on our team or any of the coaches on our Spark Healthy Runner team, you can simply check out the link that I'll have here in the show notes, or just go to learn.sparkhealthyrunner.com/coaching, and we will customize this whole half marathon race day strategy for you. Coach Whitney, this is always amazing speaking with you. Today, I've learned 2 more new things. I can count to Spanish at the end of my race. And the other one was the chocolate milk, right? That might be my mantra as I'm finishing my next race. But thank you so much for coming on to educate our community about half marathon race day strategy.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. And to everybody listening that is conquering their first or their 50th, congratulations. We are so incredibly proud of you. And we can't wait to see all those fun pictures. Enjoy.
Yes, and if you guys enjoyed this, like please copy this link, share it wherever you're listening to this, with a runner that you know who's preparing for a half marathon, so they can be able to, maximize their race day potential. And if you like this, you'll surely like the next on our top 5 half marathon mistakes to avoid. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, then queue up episode 191. And if you're watching this on the Spark Healthy Runner YouTube channel, then just click the video that I have for you here. As always, like let's continue to grow a strong mind, a strong body, and just keep running to 13.1 and beyond. Until next time.